Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and it's just fantastic to have you along for the ride, especially after an insane weekend that included the World Series, the Game 7 of World Series. It also went to extra innings, second extra innings game World Series. Hopefully the camera starts working again. Good. That's good. That's nice to happen. We're going to get into the fact that the NFL is the most entertaining thing on the planet. We'll get into that with all that went on yesterday. And it's nice to sit back after a very productive weekend, a Halloween weekend, and both kids broke their fever, so they were able to go out trick-or-treating. It was wonderful. They had a great time. That was great. And then I took down a shed in my backyard. That was very productive. That was great. I love that. I got to swing a sledgehammer around a little bit. Howie Roseman made another trade for a cornerback. There's just a lot going on. Flyers lost 2 in a row now. Come on. And the Sixers absolutely stomped the Brooklyn Nets. So it was a fun, action-packed weekend. Let's start it off with Howie Roseman, because Howie's already made 2 moves now for corners. One for nickel, one for depth. And I hate to say that, but Jair Alexander, can we all get on the same page here? This is not a big pickup. This is not the 2-time Pro Bowler. This is not the 2-time second-team All-Pro corner that we saw with the Green Bay Packers, that we saw the Eagles take on a year ago in did they face him in the play? I can't remember if they faced him in the playoffs, but I know they faced him in Brazil. When you pay for something at a great low price, even if it's something you need, which is depth, or really what you need is another starting corner, and it only costs you checks notes here, 6th-round pick, that should let you know that this is not going to be the cure-all. Michael Carter most likely is going to be the greatest acquisition that the Eagles have made this season. I don't think that they're going to go out there and, Jalen Phillips is a name that's being mentioned. There's reports that the Eagles are tied to the edge rusher there out of Miami, who has experience with Vic Fangio, certainly had 6.5 sacks in only 7 starts, I believe it was, under Vic Fangio in the one year that they were together down there in Miami. I hope that happens. I know Howie's kicking the tires on everything. Everything I always hear about Howie is that he's in on everything. He's making phone calls on everything. But when it comes to the cornerback room, and I'm including nickels in this as well, even though Vic Fangio frowns upon such phraseology, even though you got a guy like Jair Alexander, that's depth. Bringing in Michael Carter II, he essentially is going to become your nickel corner, and then you're going to have Cooper DeJean bounced out to the outside. I do believe that Cooper DeJean is that whatever football player, that whatever athlete that I always talk about, the guy that's just like, hey, we need you to do this. Yeah, whatever. Nothing phases them. They can do it. They got the physical know-how to do it. They got the mental capacity to do it. You got a guy like Cooper DeJean, you could certainly do it. You bring in a guy who has over 2,200 snaps at the nickel position, albeit with the New York Jets. Yeah, you brought that guy in for a reason, to play nickel. You're not bringing that guy in to say, I wonder if this guy could be a safety. No, I don't think you're doing that. And you're bringing in Jair Alexander to be a guy to give you depth. The Eagles right now, unfortunately, have a very low bar when it comes to who the outside corner is going to be. Cooper DeJean is their best option right now. To make the move, to make the switch, to bounce him to the outside is the best move you can make right now. And that makes Michael Carter the most impactful acquisition that you can make at this point in order to have Cooper DeJean go to the outside. I know a lot of people could look back on it and say, why would you do that? You also heard from Vic Fangio. I know everyone's talked about Cooper DeJean and the quote from Vic Fangio a week ago about everything that Cooper DeJean does well. Well, also in that same quote, he talked about Cooper DeJean being an inside guy and being a guy that you look at and you go, well, if he's that great at this position, why would I move him off that position? Well, the reason being is you need help on the outside. Cooper DeJean has already played on the outside in base formation, and then moves to the nickel, obviously, when called upon, where he gets the majority of his snaps. It's a bit of a dice roll because you never know when someone's doing something great. You don't ever want to move them off and say, okay, well, if you do this great, you can do that other thing great. I think it gives the Eagles a lot of options in the acquisitions that they've made at the cornerback position. Now, let's also acknowledge that you do need depth at that position, whether it's Keely Ringo, whether it's Ja'Cory Bennett, whether it's Adoree Jackson. Injuries happen, and they certainly have happened to Adoree Jackson. They've also happened to Ja'Cory Bennett. So you want to make sure that you have somebody else that at least knows how to play the position at the position. Jaire Alexander, though, again, is depth. You're talking about a guy who's been a healthy scratch. You're talking about a guy who's been inactive, though available throughout the week. And on game day, the Baltimore Ravens 5 times had said, you're healthy, but do less. That doesn't exactly make you do cartwheels over the Eagles solving a problem at the outside corner position. So I think it gives them great optionality, to use the hinky word, when it comes to acquiring Michael Carter II. It's all what we talked about on Friday last week. It's that you can now have Cooper DeJean play on the outside full-time. You bring in an experienced nickel. You could still maybe, if you really like a matchup, maybe have Cooper DeJean follow somebody that you want him to follow in a particular game. And with depth now at the cornerback position, if Drew Makuba hits that rookie wall, you have somebody else that can go back there. Now, I still think that Marcus Epps would get a look in that regard, but if push comes to shove, you'd see Cooper DeJean float back there as well. The one move of Michael Carter gives a great option to the Eagles, to Vic Fangio and everyone else about how they can use Cooper DeJean. Because much like I talk about with A.J. Brown or, anybody in the offensive side of things, Dallas Goedert, that, hey, I don't mind if somebody's focusing in on throwing to A.J. Brown or throwing to Dallas Goedert or throwing to Devontae Smith. They're good football players. They can make plays for you. So put the ball in their hands. Similar thing here with Cooper DeJean. He's a good football player. You put him in a position to make a play for you, he's going to make a play for you no matter where that is. If it's nickel, if it's outside, if it's safety, you have a lot of options now that you brought in 2 corners, but really because you brought in Michael Carter. Now, to move on to Jalen Phillips, for instance, the report out there is that the Eagles are kicking the tires there. They could be also looking at Bradley Chubb as well. There is a relationship there from Jalen Phillips and Vic Fangio's time in Miami together, albeit just 1 year. Phillips was hurt that year. I believe during that in-season Hard Knocks, I remember going back and watching that when the Eagles got Vic Fangio. Fangio was in it for about 8 seconds, by the way. He was barely in it. But I believe Phillips was one of the guys that was singing the praises. I know there was a lot that came out of Miami after Vic Fangio left and how people in Miami didn't like his style, blah, blah, blah. So his style seems to be loved in Philadelphia even before they won a Super Bowl with Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. But Phillips was one of the guys that was singing the praises of Vic Fangio just in terms of something that he really respected and how he was used and all that. I'd love to see it. The Eagles are down to 6 picks next year. 2 of those picks are third-round picks, assuming they also get a third-round pick. I believe it's for the Milton Williams deal. So they're looking at 6 picks right now with 3 compensatory picks on the way, so to speak. One thing that we got to realize with Howie is, as we all know, he likes to do deals. He likes to make moves. He likes to make the team better. And if it's somebody that's familiar with the defense, all the better. He's dipped into his 2026 class of picks with this move for Jaire Alexander. Maybe that's just the start. Getting Carter from the Jets, that cost you a 27 7th-round pick, as well as John Mechie. You've made move for Tank Bigsby. You made a move for Fred Johnson. You've certainly been busy, without question, Howie. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. By the way, don't forget to vote. How about that? And don't forget about the trade deadline. So it should be an interesting day ahead when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see them making another splash move. I don't see them making a splash move. I think it's significant, the fallout that will happen in a good way for bringing in Michael Carter because of what it does for Cooper DeJean and what Cooper DeJean could do for this defense. But I don't see that big edge rusher coming in here, a guy with a great resume and all that. I think you're looking at the last 2 weeks. And although I'll say this, I don't think Brandon Graham is some savior, but I do think he makes you better. I don't think Michael Carter is some savior, but I think he makes you better. Jair Alexander, I can't go to it enough. If you had a dream car, for instance, and let's just say your parents bought you that car, right, when you turned 16 or 17 years old, and you're like, hey, I got you that car you always wanted, and you're like, wow, that's great, but you spent the money on that? You should have spent the money on that. Let's just say you'd say that. And they're just like, oh, no, I got the rock bottom price. And you're like, what? How'd you get that? And you look at it and you go, yeah, that's the car, but that doesn't look like the one in the pictures that I've seen. That looks a little run down. Like, yeah, I got a great deal on it. How old is this car? 20 years. Okay. I guess it's a classic Honda Civic. That's the way I kind of look at Jair Alexander. You get what you pay for. I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are just sitting there looking to get fleeced on a guy that they did not have active for 5 games. So again, depth. 4 o'clock tomorrow, trade deadline. Let's talk about the rest of the NFL yesterday. I don't bring this up. I know sometimes people can look at this and not understand what I'm saying. I am not celebrating an injury, obviously not. So I don't bring this up for any negative thing, but for any positive thing towards the Eagles. But Jaden Daniels out again, now indefinitely. He looked like he drastically hyperextended his elbow. I'm no doctor, but he's out indefinitely, potentially for the season. I would say likely for the season. He was in late. The injury happened with about under 8 minutes to go, about 7:50, I think it was remaining in the fourth quarter of a blowout loss to the Seattle Seahawks, who, by the way, NFC-wise, they look pretty damn good. They did that to the Commanders on the road when they got their starting quarterback back in Jaden Daniels, and Sam Darnold and company just torched them, absolutely torched them. But Daniels is gone. Mariota most likely going to be their starting quarterback unless they do something else, make a trade, whatever it might be. Hey, maybe you can fleece them out of getting Sam Howell back or something. I don't know. But that was gruesome. Not a good one. You had Cam Scatterbo, obviously, a week ago, I should say, have a gruesome injury, obviously, with his ankle. And then Jaden Daniels last night, not so great. Grabbed the elbow immediately, scrambling to his right in a deep red zone situation. And then you just see all the players drop to a knee, Zach Ertz included, who had a couple of catches last night as well. And all those guys just seem really shaken up about it. So, hey, speedy recovery for him. The Commanders did lose yesterday. The Giants lost yesterday. Cowboys are in action tonight. A couple of wild games, by the way, while I'm thinking of it, throughout the NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers handed the Indianapolis Colts. They're only their second loss of the season, so that's just overall rankings there in the NFL. They take a hit. The Packers lose to the Panthers. Who saw that coming? That's a good time. The Cardinals kick off tonight on Monday Night Football with the Cowboys. That game is going to be in Dallas. So you see how that one shakes out. And the Bears-Bengals game was absolutely insane. That was a 47-42 game. Monongahela, is that how you say it? Monongahela ran for 175 yards on the ground. That was a pretty wild day for him. New England and the Atlanta Falcons went back and forth there. New England ended up winning that one 24-23. Baltimore with Lamar Jackson back, as you know, on Thursday, just absolutely whooped some ass. That's the way. A little BTA, a little belt to ass there. It was a wild weekend. Certainly a wild weekend in the NFL. Your Philadelphia 76ers. Let's jump to them. There's a couple of things that you look at in a game like this against the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, stay with me here, suck. They are a terrible basketball team. The Sixers whooped up on them. After keeping it interesting in the first quarter, Sixers, They just blew them out in the second quarter and then pretty much controlled from that point on. Kelly Oubre had 22 first quarter points. He had 24 first half points, both career highs, by the way, for first half and first quarter. He was unbelievable last night. Tyrese Maxey really started to take control in that second quarter as well. Knocked down a couple threes, was finding his guys left and right. At 7 assists, I believe it was at halftime. Quentin Grimes finished the night with 13 assists, a career high for him. VJ Edgecombe just continues. He could have very easily had 3 thunder slams. Okay, he had 1. He had 1 yesterday. 2 he wasn't able to convert. 1 he got fouled on, sort of. And the other he just missed. But could have easily had 3 thunderous slams against the Nets. Again, the Nets suck. All right? According to the Elias Sports Bureau, the Nets suck. The 76ers did exactly what they're supposed to do against a team like the Nets. Now, what the hell does that mean? That means that the Sixers are a very good basketball team, and the Nets are not. So the Sixers should blow them out, and that's exactly what they did. A lot of times, we've talked about teams playing down to opponents. This is one of those games that you just hope it doesn't happen, and boy, it did not. Sixers ran away with this one. Trendon Watford got in on the action, 16 points, 7 assists, I want to say, maybe 8 rebounds, maybe reverse that. Either way, he was filling up the stat sheet. And the Sixers ended up finishing with 3 20-point scores. Oubre led the way with 29. Maxey came in with 26 and those 7 assists I mentioned. Then you also had Quentin Grimes come in with 23 points. Why am I guessing? I have the box score right here. It was a 129-105 win, by the way, for the Sixers. So, like I said, a blowout. 26 from Maxey, 7 assists, 29 from Oubre. Not big in the rebounding position. There's a situation there. No assists for him. He had 1 steal. VJ Edgecombe had 3 steals, 16 points, 6-12 shooting. Knocked down a couple of threes. Quentin Grimes, 22 points in 32 minutes played. 13 assists. Here's all you need to know. Janai Broom got his first run as a 76er in the fourth quarter. Got his first buckets as a 76er there. He made 4 points, as a matter of fact. Kyle Lowry got into the game, knocked down a 3, and the place went absolutely bananas over it. It was awesome. Included the Sixers bench. Well, more so the Sixers bench than Brooklyn. They didn't go nuts for it, but it was great. And it's just, I can't talk enough about how much fun it is to watch this team. And how much fun it is to watch Tyrese Maxey continue to grow. I was talking about this after the game last night with Keith Pompey. We did a show after the Sixers win on Locked On 76ers. And one of the things that Keith was pointing out was just we had one ask of Tyrese Maxey through the summer. He was going to be looked at as more of a point guard. He was going to be looked at more as a facilitator. He was going to be looked at as a guy to really lead this team. And he has done exactly that. He has been able to find his teammates. He's had some great setups there. He's been finishing great around the basket. Going into last night, you're talking about the leader in points per game in the NBA. What more do I need to say? You're talking about a guy who's top 2 in three-pointers made per game. Talking about a guy who's up there, I think, 4th in assists going into last night's game. Yeah, I'd say Tyrese Maxey's been doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. And now you get a tough game coming up against Chicago Bulls. Now you got another tough game coming up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Back-to-back, road trip. Not great. Not the best position to be in there. Cue the scheduled loss, people. But I'm not going to be accepting that. No way. This team's too young. This team's too fast. This team's too good. Joel Embiid did not play in the game last night. And I know a lot of people look at that and be like, oh, thank God. He just slow everything down. Look, I did a interview over the weekend with the Locked On Cavaliers people. Danny Cunningham does a great job. And he asked me about my expectations for Embiid. And you know what? It's weird because you ask yourself these questions and you really think about it. And then somebody from out of market will ask you, and it just puts a different quarter in the machine. And you start thinking about something a little bit different. And I know that expectations change as things go on. For instance, I was thinking about this team being a play-in tournament type team. Now, even though I know it's early, I'm like, this team is just too damn good. This is a straight-up playoff team. So expectations have changed overall with that. But then expectations have changed with Joel Embiid, because if you would have told me in the middle of the summer, like, hey, you're going to sit down for this, Joel Embiid is going to be ready for the season opener, I'd be like, what? No way. No, he's going to be ready for the season opener. Oh, how's he going to do in the season opener? Not good, but there's next handful of games, 20 points. His minute restriction is going to go from 20 to 23 to 25. He's going to have a 25-point game under his belt. And he's going to be flirting with a couple of triple-doubles along the way. I'd be like, huh, really? Interesting. I would say you're lying. I'd look you in your face, and I'd be like, you're a liar. Stop lying to me. And Joel Embiid has been playing. His minute restrictions have gone up. He has been the 20-point scorer and all that. The stat sheet looks nice. But you watch the game, and you see he's slow. But you also have to keep in mind he's a guy coming back from a second knee surgery in 14 months. Smart money says this guy is never going to be mentioned in the same sentence again as an MVP. He's never going to be mentioned again in the MVP race. It looks like right now in the way too early prediction, Tyrese Maxey is going to be in that conversation with Luka Doncic and Victor Wembanyama. Those guys. Those are going to be the guys that are going to be competing for an MVP award this season. Come on, Tyrese Maxey. But if you would have told me in the middle of the summer that Joel Embiid would be playing, and he'd be playing 20-plus minutes, 23-plus minutes, 25 minutes, he'd be scoring 20 points, I would have said you're crazy, that's not happening. But if it happens, that'll be a good sign. So last week I talked about what it would take to move on from Joel Embiid, just to have that speaking of way too early conversations. And I said, I'm not doing that now. I'm not moving on from Bryce Harper. I said that. I'm not moving on from Joel Embiid. Not doing that right now. Because people, I think, need to realize that Joel Embiid simply has to play basketball. There's not going to be let's sit him out another year and then he gets back into it. No, he's got to play. He's not going to get better not doing anything. He's got to get better by playing. Now, you're going to have the load management. You're going to have the minute restrictions and all that. Joel Embiid being on the floor, although looking slow, although looking like he can't jump over a credit card, okay? Although that does not look good, and although his defense leaves a lot to be desired. We talk about it a lot with rookies, and I think we don't talk about it enough with guys coming back from injuries. Start up costs. Right now, Joel Embiid he's revving the engine. And if things are running like this right now, at this point in the season, this early, with him at least being out there playing, I know it doesn't look pretty. But him just getting numbers is great. And I think this is only going to get better as the season goes on, as he plays himself back into shape. Do I think he's going to get to a point? The question is he ever going to get to a point where he can keep up with this team? I don't know anybody that can keep up with this team in terms of pace of play. There are certainly teams better than the Sixers, but or by season's end will be better than the Sixers. But in terms of just pace of play, up tempo, that'd be hard for anybody. That'd be hard for anybody to keep up with. And Joel Embiid is not going to do that coming out of the gate off knee surgery. If you would have told me there'd be a 6-second video in training camp of him breaking down a coach, looking healthy, looking svelte also, I wouldn't have believed it. And really, ever since that video, that 6-second video that the Sixers release came out, it's been trending all in the right direction for Joel Embiid. You're going to need him in the second half of the season. You're going to need him certainly in the playoffs, and hopefully he'll be there in the playoffs. Hopefully the way they're managing his workload and this minute restriction leads to he's as healthy as he could be for the playoffs. He's as in shape as he could be for the playoffs. He has found a way to fit in with this new style of basketball, more so than what we have seen through the first couple of games of the season. I think we'll get a great view of what this is going to look like in a month. I don't think looking at him going up against the Chicago Bulls, going up against another good center in Nick Vucevic, or Vucevic, I think is how they say it now in Chicago. That's going to be a tough matchup for him at this point in his career, at this state of health that he's in right now. But as you wait for that, as you see how all that plays out throughout the season, what I'm watching right now at this moment with the Sixers is so much fun to watch. The ball movement, the hustle, the pace, the shooting, Maxey taking that Maxian leap forward. I talked about it when Maxey should have won the most improved player of the year prior to him actually winning the most improved player. I looked at Jalen Hurts. Stay with me. And I looked at his first year as a starter to his second year as a starter, and I referred to it as the Hurtsian leap. Well, right around that time, you were seeing Tyrese Maxey just get better and better and better and better and better. Now you're talking about him as the way too early MVP candidate from the 76ers. And you just see him continue to get better. I mentioned earlier with Keith, we talked about one ask with Tyrese Maxey, and it was be a better facilitator, improve your court vision. He's done that tenfold. Now he's adding things to his game. You see the fadeaway. We have seen now the step back three, step back jumper. We've seen the teardrop. We've seen the floater. He is becoming such an all-around scorer that it's an all-around offensive weapon is what we're seeing. And on the defensive end of things, I know it's not always the prettiest thing in the world, but that man hustles. He gives a damn. And that is about 80% of the battle on the defensive end of things in the NBA. Seeing all that from Tyrese Maxey has been great. And then the other part of this is VJ Edgecombe going to have the big night? Is Quentin Grimes going to have the big night? Is Kelly Oubre going to have the big night? After, okay, Joel Embiid in this nice little rehab thing that we're watching, okay, fine. Now, who else is going to be the guy to step up? Well, Kelly Oubre was that guy last night going up against the Brooklyn Nets to help out. Again, 22 points in the first quarter, 29 points overall. And on the defensive end, Nick Nurse after the game last night, this was wild. Nick Nurse after the game talked about where Kelly Oubre got his hustle and really got his motivation from last night.
Listen, the first thing to say about Kelly is that he had Porter and held him to 2 points in the first half after coming off he just had a huge game. So he set the tone like big time on that. And again, I really believe this to be true. Like when you start the game super focused on D, that really usually translates to the other end too. It really does. So I think again he just took that space, got it to that 6-8 foot jumper that he has several times, and then he had some catch and shoot threes that just he was certainly on a heater and just kept finding him. Great job by those guys to keep finding him, and he just kept stepping into him. But I still like the first thing I mentioned in the locker room was he set the tone defensively on Porter. It was a great job.
2 points in the first half by Michael Porter Jr. 15 points in the second half by Michael Porter Jr., worth mentioning. But 32 points. He's coming off a 32-point game against the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday. Against the Cleveland Cavaliers, shockingly, in a losing effort, he dropped 31 points in that game. So Kelly Oubre setting the tone defensively and then getting confidence for that. You don't really hear coaches talk about this in the NBA. The only time we really ever hear this is in baseball, and it's usually negative. It's usually like, oh, he took his defensive struggles to the plate with him, like that kind of thing. Like we never hear it connected. Certainly don't hear it in football. But in basketball, Nick Nurse is, again, he says twice. I know people don't subscribe to this, but I believe this, said it twice, that you can gain confidence and get into the game defensively, and that fuels your offense. Not something you think about a lot, but absolutely. Absolutely. When you get a steal on defense or you make a play on defense and you're able to start a fast break for yourself or for somebody else, you want to put the icing on the cake. You want to put the cherry on top. That's absolutely motivation. Also, it makes you feel like you're in the game, especially when you're Kelly Oubre and you got to be a little bit of a chameleon in this offense, especially with Tyrese Maxey running the show. VJ Edgecombe coming out here, starting off his career in a phenomenal way, knowing that Joel Embiid is lurking, knowing that Paul George is going to be back soon, knowing that Jared McCain is going to be back soon, knowing that Quentin Grimes is going to get his off the bench. By the way, him coming off the bench, I absolutely love. You got to be a little bit of a chameleon. Like, you don't know when your night is going to be. The game in Toronto last year where he was a monster. Like, you don't know when your number is going to be called. You don't know when it's essentially going to be your turn to be, not just a role player, but be a scorer in the game. And last night, his number was called, and he took full advantage of it. That corner three he hit at the end of the first quarter was just picture perfect. It was absolutely picture perfect. There was a couple other things that popped up in this game last night that I just really loved. And not just the end when they all lost their mind for Kyle Lowry. By the way, while I'm talking about Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey after the game was asked about Kyle Lowry hitting that three.
Crazy on the bench when Kyle Lowry hit that corner three. Other than like the leadership aspect that he brings to y'all, I mean, like, how impressive is it that this is he's year 20?
He old as hell.
Yeah, he is.
But he works out every day, works out hard every day. He's in there with me early, you know what I'm saying? He rebounds, he screens, he also works out sometimes. He watches BJ, he watches Jared. Like, what he's doing for our team right now, and he's up cheering every single, like, that's a Hall of Fame we're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, Jersey probably get retired in Toronto, and he up cheering for everybody and motivating people and talking in the locker room. Like, man, I got nothing but love and respect for K-Lo, and we appreciate having him.
They did. They went nuts. They absolutely went nuts when he hit that three. And he was like laughing too. Lowry's on the court laughing. It's a corner three, runs down the other end laughing. But Maxey went on to say that Kyle Lowry is his leader. Maxey was asked a specific question. And I love when reporters do this because a lot of times players just want to say something nice about somebody they respect. They're like, oh, I learned a lot from him. And someone, like, I forget, I don't know who said it, but they said, what did you learn from him? And he goes, lead. I learned to lead. He goes, he's telling me to lead, but he doesn't realize that he's my leader. And when my leader tells me to do something, I do it, basically. He tells me to lead, I'm going to go out there and lead. He shows me how to lead, I'm going to go out there and show other guys how to lead. And for the people that wanted to talk about why bring back Kyle Lowry, and by those people, I mean me, why bring back Kyle Lowry? If he's gonna be a coach, then have him be a coach. He doesn't need a uniform. Why take it up a roster spot? Well, for moments like last night where he could get into a game at the end against the Nets and knock down a three, and you see the bench go crazy. And also you also think about how he can have an impact when he does have that jersey on and not, a jumpsuit like the coaches wear nowadays, or sweatsuits, whatever. And that kind of the weight that his voice carries when he's just another player in that locker room. And many years from now, when we look back on Tyrese Maxey's career, I have no doubt that a guy that he's going to mention when he thanks Sixers fans for for his time here in Philadelphia and his career here in Philadelphia, hopefully, and by that I mean entire career in Philadelphia, that Kyle Lowry was a guy that had a great influence on him. I thought that was pretty neat last night, pretty wild last night, pretty awesome last night to hear Maxey be so specific about the leader, his leader. His leader is Kyle Lowry. Tells me to lead, I lead. That's a pretty special thing. It makes you love this team even more. Also in last night's game, I mentioned VJ Edgecombe. There's a couple of plays that he was able to make last night where he just shows off his athleticism. He just shows off his aggressiveness. And the fact that he is knocking down shots. He shot 50% from the floor last night, VJ Edgecombe did. And this guy, you blink, and he's just at the other end of the court. In the fourth quarter, I would have loved to see him be a little bit more involved. Grimes set him up well with the layup. That was his 13th assist of the game for Quentin Grimes. But pretty quiet other than that in the fourth quarter. The second quarter, he kind of came to life. Had a big steal there around midcourt. Took it the length of the court there for the slam on the fast break there. That was great. He missed an alley-oop opportunity from Tyrese Maxey where he was questionably fouled, but he made both the free throws. So, okay. Either way, he was fouled. Then he knocked down a three. That made it 57-54 with about 5:25 left in the second quarter. VJ again knocked down a second three of the game shortly thereafter. He missed a three. Watford got the rebound. I think it was Watford got the rebound. That went right back to Maxey, and he got that thunder slam that he'd been itching for. He had one that was missed in that first quarter, but he got that one. And yeah, he had 14 points at the half. Not much, like I said, in the second quarter. Third quarter set up Maxey well for a three, but the third quarter was a real quiet quarter. There's only 40 points scored in total in that fourth quarter. I think that was Brooklyn actually took that one 23-17, and then the Sixers just blew their doors off in the fourth quarter to take control of that game. So now Sixers got the day off today. They're back at it in Chicago tomorrow for a 8 o'clock tip-off in Chi-Town against the Bulls. 8 o'clock tip-off against Chicago. And then after that, they got the Cleveland Cavaliers. So a little bit of a tough run ahead for the Sixers. Some great some early measuring stick games for the with the team, the Sixers, of course. World Series, potentially one of the best World Series I can remember. Just Game 7, obviously, pretty huge. Game 7 extra innings after previously having an 18-inning extra inning affair. That's pretty special. I know that Joe Carter ruined a lot of our childhoods, but I was absolutely rooting for the Blue Jays in this World Series. And one of the reasons was the local connections with your Savage, for instance, and Schneider as well, manager of the Blue Jays. Jeff Hoffman, I have no ill will towards. Sir Anthony Dominguez, I have no ill will towards, whatever. But it's mostly the fact that I just hate the Dodgers. I think that's the same to be said for a lot of other people. But it was a wild World Series and a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to follow. And it shows you also how in the bottom of the ninth inning, when the Toronto Blue Jays have the game on the line and they have a bases loaded situation, how much not just hustle, but how much smarts helps in a situation. Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. They have IKF, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, I believe is how he says his name, on third. Grounder hit to the right side of the infield. I don't know how he was so close to the bag. You're talking about a walk-off RBI ground out for the World Series. And he's referred to for short as IKF. He's 2 steps off the third base bag. And I'm sure this has come up in your algorithm if you didn't see this. But he's right there at home plate. And I don't understand for the life of me how he was so close to the bag at third, how the third base coach. Now, look, the third base, I'm not blaming him, but in that particular situation, a professional baseball player should know where to be. Third baseman's playing off the bag, so it's not like they're going to have a pickoff attempt. And even if they do, you're going to have time to get back to the bag. But I don't know, maybe his reaction time is just really slow, given that he was still in the exact same spot after the pitcher let go of the baseball. If that was in Philadelphia, we'd be losing our minds over this play. And we would be like, why isn't Dusty Watson telling her to get off the bag more? It's not Dusty's fault. Wouldn't be Dusty's fault. It's the player's fault. I watched that play a number of times, and I've watched it even more because it's come up in my algorithm a number of times as well. And I'm like, how the hell is he so close? How the hell is he so close to third base? Then they throw the pitch. He's still standing there, and then he breaks for the plate after contact. Like, I'm not talking a break for the plate when the ball is released. I'm talking a little hop, skip, and a jump. That's it. Just get the little lead. When you see the pitcher start his windup. When you see the pitcher release the ball. Instead, right there. Dodgers win another World Series. Dodgers back-to-back World Series champions. Damn it. Clayton Kershaw's last game is a World Series victory in Game 7. I remember when that kid came up. Played against the Phillies in the postseason. 2008. Good times. Good times. Flyers. Yikes. Not fun. I wish I had better news. They lost back-to-back games. And after this 2-1 loss to the Flames, Rick Tocchet didn't hold back. Said in his post-game press conference, fans paid good money to watch a good product, and we need to give them a good product tonight. Thank you for acknowledging that. Flyers have lost back-to-back games now. Travis Konecny had the only goal. It was also off a face-off. It was an awesome goal, but that was it. They lost 2-1 to the Flames. That was after losing to the Maple Leafs 5-2. They're back at it tomorrow at 7 o'clock in Montreal against the Habs. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine Monday morning. April. Good morning, April. Nice to see you. Rye. Philly Union advanced to the second round. There you go. There you go, hon. Sean Kilran, hello. Lee Me Lone, love the name. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Sean Gillespie, hello. There, April, if Carolina could beat Green Bay, I'm not worried. Right? Colombian Dreams, hello. The Eagles won the bye week. Go Birds. Hell yeah, they did. They'll definitely win the bye week tonight if the Arizona Cardinals find a way to beat the Cowboys. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun little Monday night matchup there. Shoots and ladders. Wrong button. What is the? I don't even know the Cardinals' record right now. Jonathan Gannon's. Yeah, they're 2-5-1. Yeah, fat chance of that happening. And they're on the road. They're on the Road. Come on. That game's going to suck. Solyan Dripa? Hello. Hey, mate. Hey. Really love your stream and being part of your fan community. Would you mind adding me up on, I don't know, Discord? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Sorry. But thank you. I'll look it up and I'll find it. Oh, you're on Twitch. You're a Twitch viewer. I never get those. I remember Twitch. Thanks, Celion. Appreciate it. Sean Gillespie, Bills are the November champions again. Yeah, how about that one? That's another one yesterday. 5-1. Josh Allen against the Chiefs now in the regular season and in the postseason. No. Sean Kilran, Jair Alexander, 290 career tackles, 12 for a loss, 12 interceptions, a sack and a half, 70 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown in the regular season with another 28 tackles, 2 interceptions, 5 passes defended in the playoffs. It was a long time ago. Even though Green Bay lost, they're still scary. Yeah. Jaden Daniels should have been taken out. Yeah, probably. The thing is, if he doesn't get hurt, I don't think anybody says anything. It was like John Duran getting the liner off his foot in the Nationals game in a non-save situation. If he doesn't get hurt, no one's complaining that he's in the game. But yeah, I will say this, Sean. It did cross my mind. Like, when do you take these guys out? When do you just say that's enough? Sean Gillespie says the same thing. Shouldn't have him playing late. Wayne the Pain. What's going on? I like the new look of the 76ers. High energy and efficiency. Wayne the Pain. I concur. Pin 96. What's up? Morning, Farzy. I'm convinced the Eagles are still the best team in the NFL. The only team in the NFC that concerns me are the Rams, the Lions, and the Packers. Yeah, those are. Oh, you're saying the only team that concerns you is the Rams, the Lions, and the Packers are suspect. Yeah, well, I didn't even mention that. I knew there was one game I was missing. Vikings just spanked the Lions yesterday. That game was absolutely bonkers. Jahmyr Gibbs got like nothing going for himself on the ground. The Vikings, it was a 3-point game, but it did not feel like a 3-point game. It was 27-24. Vikings won. Didn't feel like that at all. It just felt like the hold on a second. All right, I'll put a bow on that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, Holy Stromboli, it actually happened. According to Adam Schefter, the Philadelphia Eagles are trading a 2026 third-round pick to the Miami Dolphins for Jalen Phillips. Just like that. So Howie did it. 2 corners and an edge rusher. You needed help at corner. You got some help at corner. With Michael Carter being able to move to, Cooper DeJean out to the outside. Also bringing in depth, Jair Alexander, a guy who was a healthy scratch for 5 games for the Baltimore Ravens. And now the Miami Dolphins have traded edge rusher Jalen Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for one of their 2026 third-round picks. Eagles are still set to have 2 third-rounders in this coming draft, when you include the compensatory picks as well. How about that, Howie Roseman? You beautiful SOB, you did it. I didn't think you'd do it, but you did it. He should be ready to go for this game against the Packers coming up on Sunday then. He's familiar with the defense. He's familiar with the play caller. He should know what he's doing. Again, I'll go back to it. You're talking about Jalen Phillips 1 year under Vic Fangio, and it wasn't even a full year, but he still had 6.5 sacks in 8 games. 7 of them started for the Miami Dolphins. Vic Fangio knows how to use him. Howie Roseman, how do I ever doubt you? How do I ever doubt you? You dip back into the draft class of the upcoming draft for 2026, and you bring in somebody that helps you right now. So now you're going to have Brandon Graham as an acquisition, who is not a savior, but I believe does make you better. Nolan Smith coming off of IR. And now you're also adding Jalen Phillips to that. And at the same time, Jalix Hunt gets a little bit better every single week. This is what championship contending teams do. How about that? By the way, Jaden Phillips also set to be a free agent as well. So that's a great start to a week. That is a great start to the week. Shefty had one more thing on this. Jaden Phillips, in the last year of his contract, is scheduled to become a free agent this winter. The Eagles wanted him for a second half of the season as they continue their attempt to try to repeat. How about that news? Howie? Pretty incredible. One more thing. Let me just look up the rest of those numbers. I remember it was 7 starts, 8 games played for Phillips under Vic Fangio 2 seasons ago before he was injured and had to shut it down the rest of the way. But he's a former first-round pick, an 18th overall pick, Jalen Phillips is. And in that 1 year under Fangio, 6 starts, 8 games played, 6.5 sacks in 2023. He had 7 tackles for loss in that span. Not bad. Not bad at all. 9 games this year, 3 sacks. 9 games, 3 sacks with Miami. Howie keeps making moves. So let's see here. Second half of the season, the majority of the second half of the season, you should have Nolan Smith, Jalen Phillips, Jalix Hunt, Brandon Graham. You have Nakobe Dean back, obviously. This feels pretty good. This feels pretty good when it comes to your Philadelphia Eagles. Phillips is here. Hell yeah, he is. Cousin, what's up, cousin? Oh, baby. Good morning to you. Pin 9617 is also excited. This is great. Oh, Sir Sketchable, what's going on? This is a great way to start your week. Look, very talented player, playing on a bad defense, playing on a bad team. Miami's obviously unloaded a lot over the last couple of years, and this is the latest now. And this is exactly what the Eagles needed. Eagles needed to get better at corner. They got better at corner. Eagles needed to get better at edge rusher. They got better at edge rusher. This feels now a lot more. Just this one acquisition on the D-line, on the edge there. This makes it feel a lot like last year, where you could have confidence in a guy like Nolan Smith. You could have confidence in a guy like Josh Sweat. You have multiple guys you feel like can get after the quarterback and make plays for you. And let's also remember that when you have a guy like Jalen Carter in the middle of this defensive line, that makes everybody else better. And you also have another guy, Moro Ajomo, who's having himself one hell of a year. That also makes everybody else better. So now Jalen Phillips is being added to that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a bold, I think he'll have more than 3 sacks for the rest of the season with the Eagles, like he did through 9 games with the Dolphins. That is awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are the best as per usual. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. No Locked On Sixers today. We did Locked On Sixers after the game last night. So if you want to check that out, check out Locked On 76ers on the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. I'm Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Farzy Show. Once again, Philadelphia Eagles get their guy, Jalen Phillips, tied to the Eagles through reports over the weekend, and Howie Roseman gets it done for a 3rd-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Eagles should still have 2 other 3rd-round picks with the compensatory pick included coming up in this draft. Howie, how you wow me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag.
Well, that's pretty dope.
Yes, it is, Nick. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.